What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul. This is the Leeds Therapy, and thank you ever so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, if you could hit the subscribe button for me, if you could like the video for me as well, if you could share it. Any comments that you want to make, and there might be some, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. So let's get into the discussion around yesterday's game against Cardiff. So let's start from the very, very beginning. Effectively, it's a win. It's a 2-0. It's a clean sheet. We take it and we move on. That's the way that I view it. At this moment in time, it's about, for me, it's about scores on the doors and keeping in contention better than what we did at the start of last season, and making sure that everything is running kind of okay. Yes, the performance might not have been absolutely amazing, but we still dominated. 80% possession. We had nearly quadruple the amount of passes that they had. They had 200 and something, and we had near enough 800, 790 something passes. But overall, it's a win, and that's the way that you look at it. I thought we played okay. It wasn't very, very expansive. It was very much a case of not getting out of first gear, I think is probably fair to say. The big issue that we've got, and it's not an issue, it's more a case of, in terms of the play, once Cardiff went down to 10 men, there wasn't any need for a double pivot at all. There just wasn't any need for it. So you could have switched one of those guys for maybe possibly Tanaka. And just to touch on Tanaka as well, I believe he came in on the 91st minute, 25 out of 25 passes were put in, which was more than I think of the best person on the Cardiff team. But I'm a big fan of Tanaka. I'd really love to see him start. And the question surrounding it in terms of Tanaka is an interesting one, because I was on the instant match reaction review with the boys yesterday, and Joe made quite a good point in the fact of, do we think that he is actually trying to kind of warm Tanaka into the situation, a bit like what he did with Gruev last year, and sort of move it from there to a certain degree. I think there's a lot to be said for that. We don't see what goes on in training, in terms of, we see a little bit, but not very much. But we also, as well, we don't see how that player is mentally and physically, in terms of, have they settled in? Are they doing okay? Are they sort of struggling to adjust a little bit? That we don't see any of that. So only at the end of the day, only the player and the manager knows. But I would love to see him start, just to see how he does. But yeah, for me, the double pivot wasn't needed after the sending off, and I still have my issue with that setup in terms of what it doesn't allow us to do as a team, in terms of how we play, in terms of expansiveness, and everything else that goes with it as well. It's frustrating that we still make the changes as late as what we do, because it's almost like, what's the point? But then Piru comes on, scores his goal. What was he subbed in the 74th minute or 73rd minute? And by the 79th minute, he'd scored. So fantastic. It's just, he is, I would say, without a doubt, our most clinical striker that we have currently at the moment. But going back to the game itself, it was very, very slow. And it's weird, because you don't want to sit here and be hypercritical, because at the end of the day, we've just won 2-0 away from home. We should move forwards. But it's funny, because you look on Twitter, you look on like the comments that were being made on the podcast yesterday when we were doing the review, and it was Fark out, Fark out, Fark out, Fark out, Fark out, Fark out. And it's just like, I don't quite understand it as yet. I could understand it if we were losing games, but we're not. Apart from, obviously, there's the Burnley thing that came around. But, I mean, I could understand it if we were losing games, but we're not. And it's like, right, okay, if you want him gone, then who do we go and get? Corbyn's not going to leave West Brom at the moment because the owner there is starting to spend a bit more money and allowing Corbyn to do what he wants to do. Corbrand, sorry. So who do we go and get? And I'm very mindful of the fact that Leicester, the fans at Leicester absolutely hated the way that Maresca was playing last season, the way that he was doing it. It's almost a similar type of thing to that. It's just, I don't know. It's like I said, there's this, and I said it yesterday, sorry, I should say, there's this incessant need to focus on what life was like under Bielsa, and it wasn't like this when we had Bielsa and everything else that goes with it as well. And my thing is, and I said it yesterday, we're never going to get that type of scenario again. We're never going to have a situation. Bielsa was an absolute anomaly moment in time for us in terms of what he did. We all went to that Stoke game at home on the first day of the season and sat there and went, Jesus Christ, what are we watching? This isn't the same team that I watched last season. Yes, we miss it. Of course we do. But to keep ever focusing on it all the time, I just think, well, how far back do you go? You know, who do you complain about? Well, and I said it yesterday, George Graham? Do we talk about David O'Leary, Howard Wilkinson, Revie, Bremner? Where do we stop? And there is this, not with all of the fans, but there is this kind of weird self-entitlement that comes with, well, we're Leeds, we should be absolutely battering everybody 5, 6, 7, 8-0. And sometimes it just doesn't work like that. And the thing that is, I think, important to remember is that Farke's teams are a notoriously slow starter in terms of the league. And they generally don't tend to reach their peak up until sort of around about the Christmas period time. That's when they generally tend to go. I mean, look at what happened to us last season in terms of that ridiculous run that we went on where we were practically invincible, for want of a better phrase. And I think that we're doing that potentially. That's just how I feel. I just also find it odd, the people that like comments and stuff along the lines of, and you don't know if they're trolling or being serious, but along the lines of, I hope we lose today because I just want Farke out of the club. I mean, who wants their club to? I don't, like I said, I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't get people's narrative when it comes to that. If we were losing games, then yes, quite rightly. If you're not entertained, that's fine. And you're absolutely within your rights to criticise if you're not entertained. But there is a thing of criticism, but then there is also a thing of taking criticism slightly too far, which is something which all fan bases have to deal with. It's just one of those things. But anyways, talking about the game, first half was okay without being absolutely astronomically incredible. A game going down to 10 men generally does tend to be a bit shit. It's just the way that it is. We looked all right. We looked good in certain aspects. Pleased for Ramazani with his goal. We had a couple of chances in the first half, and then obviously in the second half, like I said, when he made the substitution and it was Byram and Rothwell that came on, I'm just sat there going, or Byram and Pirot that came on, I'm just sat there going, I don't quite understand, but I don't get it really, to be honest with you. My biggest issue throughout the game was that Bogle was constantly free on the right hand side and the ball wasn't being put through to him, and it was just annoying. And yet again with the double pivot there, like we're talking about, there's that disconnect as ever between the midfield and the number 10 spot. Aronson had a decent game. I don't think he was gash. He faded a little bit in the second half because the overall round of play, but the ball he played through to Pirot for his goal, which was really well taken goal, by the way. And again, Pirot in that situation, you look at it and you go, yep, he's going to score. It's going to be 2-0 here. He is absolutely lethal, deadly, and brilliant. Tanaka comes on and just passes everybody else off of the park. That's what he does. He was showing for the ball. He was very much forward and advanced, which was really nice to see. So every time Tanaka's come on, I feel like he's impacted the game to a certain degree. The Cardiff commentators were saying that that Ampadu is an absolute Rolls Royce of a player and that he hadn't put a foot wrong all afternoon, which, technically he hadn't, but that's some people will agree, some people will disagree with that. I feel like an Ampadu-Tanaka midfield could be quite interesting, and I'd really like to see how that would play out. I thought our defence was absolutely solid. Struijk had a fantastic game, really, really good game. He is absolutely beefed up as well, by the way. He's put on some serious muscle. Very, very strong, very, very dependable. Him and Rodon yesterday was the first time I kind of felt like Rodon was the proper Rodon, if that makes sense. Firpo was just Firpo, absolutely fine. Bogle is starting to get a little bit better. The booking for the dive was silly. He went looking for that, and you're absolutely asking for trouble. Midfield wise, like I said, Ampadu and Gruev absolutely fine, but I have my issues with the same players being in the same position and that dovetailing thing. Then the attacking lineup in terms of Ramazani, Aronson and Nonto. Nonto was okay. I don't think he was anything absolutely extra special. And again, that's not me being a hater. I just don't think he's been up to it massively. He's not really done anything wrong, but I don't think he's been up to it properly yet. Ramazani, really impressed with. Really like him. His touch, his turn of pace, everything. He was good. I don't think he was absolutely amazing, but he showed glimpses of what he can do. His finish was absolutely brilliant as well. Lovely layoff from Joseph. Joseph, quieter game, but did what he needed to do in and around. He was unlucky with a couple of opportunities, took the shots and did quite well. The substitutes that came on, as I said, Tanaka I was really impressed with. Byron was fine. Everybody else that came on, I lost count of all the players that came on. And by the end of the game, we were all kind of going, we've won, but I feel deflated, and I don't understand why that is. And like I said, you've got every right to be critical of the football, but at the same time as well, you've just got to say, well, that's another 3 points. Let's move into the next ones. We've got quite a tough fixture of games coming up now, fixture list of games coming up now, and we just need to be on it a little bit more. I have a feeling that there may be a change coming in midfield. Maybe. Just personal opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right. Doesn't mean that it's true. It's just a feeling that I have that there may be a change about to come, possibly. I think that Tanaka might be making a bit of an appearance, but that's just because I have extreme love for Tanaka because he is absolute levels above where everybody else is for me. When I've seen him play, he's brilliant. Farke was very, very frustrated, I felt, throughout the game. He was doing a lot of waving his arms around and gesticulating. Happy with the defence, he said, but just that attacking forwards and just being a little bit more clinical with the ball. I'd love to see us taking more shots from outside on goal because, the keeper spills it and then you run onto it and we manage to score a goal and it moves us around and we all look a little bit better and we get happier and everything. And Struijk shouldn't be taking penalties. No, I'm only joking. He scored the last one, didn't he? So it was a terrible penalty though, but that's the other side of it. Struijk scores that penalty and it's what, 3-0. Vanik doesn't get the save on Ramazani's second chance, then it's 4-0. Aronson, he was off balance, could have been 5-0. So it's those things. It's still been that I forget the word, profligate in front of goal. And this is the way that I would summarise it. We won. We didn't concede. We have the lowest number of chances conceded out of anybody in the entire championship. I think we've only faced 40 shots. So the defence is doing the job that it needs to do. But it's a win. We move on to the next one. That's it. That's going to do it for this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please don't forget to click the like button. Please leave your comments in the comment section down below. Subscribe, all of that kind of good stuff. I've probably said that twice now in the space of 3 seconds. But yeah, that's it. That's going to do it for this one. Take care of each other, most importantly. Take care of yourself, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers.